All right, welcome everyone. Today is Wednesday, the 19th of November, 2025, and this is the Cluster API office hours. Cluster API is a sub-project of Kubernetes SIGs, and as such, we follow their meeting guidelines, which can essentially be summarized as please treat everyone as you would expect to be treated, or explicitly so, please be kind to each other. And if you have any questions or you want to talk, please raise your hand and I will call on you. So at the beginning of our meetings, we like to give a chance to welcome new attendees or new community members who would like to say hi. So I will be quiet for a few seconds, and if that sounds like you, please unmute and say hello to everybody.
Hello everyone, my name is Alicia. I'm from Red Hat. I'm from CoreOS team. Yeah, my first time. Yeah, nice to meet you.
Welcome, Alice. All right, I don't see anyone else unmuting, so we will move on to our open proposal readouts. Do we have any open proposal readouts today? Does anyone want to speak to the independent worker topology versions or the external CA insert sign? All right, I'm guessing we don't have representatives here for those proposals, so we will move on. All right, first topic, CAPI 1.12 beta is out. Wow, where does the time go? I don't know, Fabrizio, did you want to talk to this, or Matt, maybe?
I can talk.
Yeah.
So first of all, thank you. Usual thank you to Matt and the release team. I think the main call out is that this release is really contain a lot of many new cool feature in place, the change to machinal check, probably a ton more that I don't remember. We really need help from the community to validate this new release. So any feedback will be really appreciated.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, it looks pretty big, like lots of stuff going on there. I know, like, from the cap kube mark perspective, we got some catch up to do here. But thank you to the release team and thank you to everyone who's putting time into this. All right, any questions about 1.12 beta?
Mike, since you're talking about the next time you want to take a look at Kubernetes, maybe let's chat if we can merge it in KubeD, so we complete the path that we started some time ago.
Yeah, no, that would be great. Like I've been trying to get the tilt configuration updated so it's a little bit easier to use. But yeah, I'd love to talk about it sometime. It would certainly take a little toil off my back, that's for sure. Okay, moving on to the next topic, Tilo and Alice, brief technical discussion on node bootstrapping. So please take it away.
Thank you. Yeah, so we had a few months of silence on the node bootstrap rewrite or refactoring working group, and because some of the team who originally picked it up had to reprioritize and was working on other items, but we have new folks coming in from Red Hat who want to pick up the work, and we ramped them up as well as we could with the status quo that we had. And I would like is it Alicia? Thank you. I was saying your name wrong, and I was
Yeah, don't worry. Alice is fine as well.
okay.
Yeah, apologies, Alicia.
I just wanted to wanted to connect Alicia to Fabrizio, who gave most of the mentoring regarding the direction, and basically give Alicia the possibility to ask design decisions that we've made while we documented, like, kind of a little bit the target design, like how we arrived there is not documented, and I think you had the impression it was quite complex, and you wanted to explore the reasons on why that was the case, right?
Yeah, so as far as I understand from Johanan, what is required is basically to abstract the provisioner from the bootstrap, and this is what he started in his local branch. And then basically do an external image for the bootstrap that should implement ignition. So this is basically what I got from him. So what he did was his initial refactoring and a basic of scaffolding for the external bootstrap, but this new bootstrap is not using anything from copy upstream. So basically, this is the current state I have seen from Yonan's work. So my question would be for you, if there is not a simpler way. The answer might be no. I'm ready to accept that. That's not the problem. But I would like to raise again the topic that probably Yonan already did in the past, why we cannot just add an API for the provisioner and then try to plug in some, I don't know, sidecars or something that we could support that will provide the ignition data. Yeah, so this is basically more or less the state and the question. Yeah.
Right, that sounds like a good technically crunchy question. Does anyone have perhaps a response for Alice?
The short answer, I think, is no. We don't have an answer. In the sense, yeah, I'm getting an update on progress on this working group now since a couple of a month. So I don't have a good picture. I think that the goal of the working group was to figure it out how to do this. So if there were, in the past we brought up a couple of times, hey guys, let's chat, let's stay in sync. Because we know that the problem is complex. Maybe we can chat and together figure it out a way forward. But yeah, this never happened. So I think that just a few points stands up. Just that yeah, let me say, original point is that there are few things that we should keep in mind. First of all, is that the problem that we are solving is Bootstrap is transforming a node into a Kubernetes node. Okay. From the customer API point of view, this is a process. This is a single operation that fits into a way more complex feature. And to be honest, the distinction between Bootstrapper and provisioning, etc., is not a distinction that user does. It is an implementation detail. And I understand it is particularly relevant for the Ignition team because they care only about a piece of the story. But from the end user perspective, from the customer API point of view, we are solving a bigger problem. And this is why, and second, considering this, and we know historically something happened. We have now an API which is not ideal. I would like to see a path forward to clean up this API because now we have an API that change behavior depending on the format. You can use certain field and certain not. It's not really, and we are embedding some Ignition specific stuff. So the API we all agree is not clear. So I think that the point is the sort of agreement that we had at the beginning of the working group was we have to clean up the API. In order to clean up API, we want to have two different API, two different, let me say, set of controllers, so teams work independently. We solve also the ownership problem. But we want to do this in a smart way, reusing code. My expectation was that the working group should explore and come up with idea. If I still expect this as a task of the working group, but I renew the offer from me and Stefan. We are happy to chat about this. We can do we cannot do the ground research work, but if you come up with some ideas, we can brainstorm and happy to chat together.
I have a question, Fabrizio, for you. So would it make sense to completely remove Ignition API from, completely remove Ignition from, no, I forgot the exact CRD. It's the cube, ADM, config, one for the control plane and one for the. So right now that's behind the feature gate. So would it make sense to remove
I
that?
think this should be, so having two clean API, one separated from the other, is the end state, and it also implies removing Ignition from the current API.
Mhm.
But I would prefer to have a path forward before removing it.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
I'm asking for that because so it's pretty static. It's what I have seen. So if we kind of implement a backend plugin mechanism, like for example, something like a sidecar that serves Ignition data, and that the Bootstrap can consume that. What we could do together with that sidecar, we could also ship a separate CRD that contains the Ignition configuration.
I don't think this. I don't want to go too deep into this meeting because
Okay.
this is a very deep discussion. But I don't think that. So the issue is not really Ignition. The issue is that you have a KPBK controller and a KCP controller, and you cannot swap easily out the CRD from them. So really, the Ignition part is one package. We can figure it out to 200 ways to solve it. The problem is that Ignition is just the start of a complex process that the user care about, and we have to solve the problem end to end. You cannot, because it is also one of the issues that historically we had. It's not just plugging in Ignition, is how we make a Kubernetes node, a VM transform into a Kubernetes node, and how we make this Kubernetes node upgradable, go through. This is the problem that we are solving. Ignition is really an implementation detail and the beginning of a longer story. This is why I think that this is probably the biggest impedance mismatch while we talk about this topic, because the Ignition team, I understand where they come from. They care about replacing Cloud Init. The KPI maintainer team understand instead that they have in mind something very different. And this is why we are struggling to get to make progress. At least one way I read it. But the sooner we understand that this thing exists in Cluster API for a reason, I think the better we can make progress. And there are Justin and sorry, Alice, there are Justin and then Lubomir that want to speak.
Yeah, please. Justin.
I wasn't aware of this working group. I understand a lot of what Fabrizio is saying. Like, I've been impressed with CAPI. You know, we added support for CAPI nodes to COPS, and we were able to replace the thing that generates the user data fairly easily, right? We just created our own config provider. So I think CAPI has the right abstractions there, or has good abstractions there. I think I agree 100%. Like what do we actually do transform a VM into a Kubernetes node is very undefined. I don't think we should necessarily be solving it only at the CAPI level. Like, it's one of the big problems in Carpenter is they have a very tight dependency on Carpenter. AWS has a very tight dependency on, that you're running their Amazon image. That's sort of their assumption, at least at the start, and they're relaxing that a little bit, but it was sort of baked in. It terrifies me to this day, the fact that we have implemented what we hope are more secure bring up procedures in KOps than a shared token, but we could have a problem there, and it would be great if we had a consistent approach that was across all the tooling, so that we actually could say, like, yes, we think this is secure, no, we don't think this is secure, type thing. But yeah, I would love to have that conversation about what is the general way in which a VM becomes a node and is managed there going forwards. I don't think that's only a CAPI discussion. I think we should bring it to CAPI and COPS and Carpenter, and we can involve other SIGs if we need to, but I think that it would be great to at least get all the tooling agreeing on something there.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Justin. Lubomir, please.
I don't think I have any constructive comments. It's more of a rant about the past, where I remember the early days of this project. Everything felt a little bit rushed, especially the lack of abstraction layers around the cloud init part in kubeadm. And basically, I think that this is a very good historical lesson for the future of CAPI, where everything has to be considered in terms of the wider ecosystem, because you cannot just take the assumption to pin a couple of dependencies as integral in an API, and then create working groups trying to figure out how to solve a problem abstracting the existing API. And I don't think I have anything else, but it just I pity the fact, and I think Fabrizio was also not involved in the early days. I was also not involved in the early days. We didn't review some of the early stages, but I think this whole story could have been better.
Yeah, Fabrizio, I think you're next.
Yeah, definitely we could have done better in the past. I just want to make some clarification here. I don't think that what we have in Cluster API, the issue is not that the kubeadmin API is not clear. kubeadmin API, if you look at it, it was mimicked from Cloud Init, but it talked about files, partitions, users. So it's pretty generic. Okay, what happened is that at a certain point, initial team came out and asked, oh, we want to do something similar, but we don't have the expertise. We want only to replace Cloud Init. We don't have the expertise to do the rest of the process. So we basically attach it on top. But everyone else that implemented a booster provider, the abstraction that you have is perfectly fine. So I agree, we could have done better, but I think that the error, so let me say the root of the cause here is that KPBK code, KCP code is not written for usability, but this is fair because there was not such a requirement when we started. Okay, it's like if you think a kubeadmin, it would be great to write it as a library as we did for cluster cattle, but at the beginning it was not a requirement. So there are lessons, but I think that the order of events should be clarified. So I think that the error was to not address properly the need of a proper good pattern to reuse kubeadmin.
On that front, we are completely blocked by multiple SIGs in core Kubernetes. We extracting kubeadm as a library today is even not very feasible. It's really complicated topic.
Yeah, but
Um,
just to, I think that, in the past I think we all acted with the best intentions. Of course, the usage evolved and the needs evolved. What we are doing now is to find a way to move forward that makes everyone happy, including the people that are maintaining CAP-BK, KCP, that they don't want to, that it is already complex by itself. We don't want an additional layer of complexity because there are currently 2 people maintaining this. So this is also a fair point to consider.
But that's really scary.
Yeah.
I think that anyone who wants to, that's maybe a good gate, but maybe not a very fair one. Everyone who wants to change the way the current system works has to first invest to understand the code and send the people to maintain. Otherwise, just making your change of interest is just additional burden on the current team of 2 people.
Yeah, and if you again, I don't want to talk about the past, but if you think, if you look at cluster API as a whole, we faced this not only in the initial area. So first of all, cluster API is a project that has a many user, but a smaller set of contributors, which we are very happy for the many users, but sometimes the fact that we have a small set of maintainers is an issue. And there are areas where this issue become more relevant. We are talking about initiation. Sometimes we talk about machine pool. And luckily for machine pool, looks like that we now have a critical mass that is turning the wheel in the right direction. I hope that this happens for initiation as well, because more user we have, the better. And if we can get some people ramp up to our code base, even better.
Yeah, great discussion here, and I think I +1 to kind of what Fabrizio and Lubomir and Justin are talking about, like abstracting this away so that we have a better pluggable mechanism for this, like the notion of turning an instance into a node, whether it's Cloud Init or Ignition or whatever comes in the future, like abstracting that layer away to have it be some sort of like building block piece that we could have. We could build cluster API on top of, or know that we have a stable support underneath us. That would be really important. But yeah, it seems like we're in a tough spot now.
Yeah, we have a topic in agenda. I don't want to really block. Just a question for Justin. Do you want that we add a topic for the next SIG cluster lifecycle meeting, so we talk about the more general problem?
I think that'd be wonderful. I'm very excited to see your in-place upgrade and/or chained upgrade thing down below.
I'm sorry, didn't have time to prepare the demo. You have to come next week, but I promise next week I will do it.
Well, I was going to say next week is Thanksgiving in the US, so I don't know when the next. So yes, next week is a rough week, but
unfortunately, I have to speak for the other 2 points. Otherwise, I will prepare this in background. Unless you want to risk a live demo setup environment in parallel, but I don't think.
You can give us a live demo, Fabrizio.
Huh?
You can give us a live demo. We trust you.
Okay, I'll do it.
I mean, I trust you. Okay. Any other questions on LHA's topic about the node bootstrapping? And I guess was that helpful for you as well?
It was scary, I have to say. To be honest, it's very hard to understand where to start. I understand the problem, the historical problem, but the problem for me as a first contributor is that there are not actionable items that I can address. If there was some design problem, I'm really, really sorry to hear about this. But from the discussion, I don't see a way forward. I'm happy if we want to schedule another meeting and discuss this in more details. But yeah, I'm from CoreOS team. Today is not possible to create any nodes using Fedora CoreOS because it requires Ignition 3. And my problem, everything that is coming from OpenShift, they had to re-implement everything. So I think, trying to make this happening maybe will bring more people also on Kapi upstream if there will be the possibility to use Fedora CoreOS. This is at least my hope.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Finish what you were saying.
No, I was finished.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're right. I think a follow-up meeting is probably going to be needed, or the next Bootstrap working group meeting if we can get more people there. And I think going back to the comments that Fabrizio was saying earlier, I think probably the way forward at this point is to start re-examining those APIs and doing this work that that Fabrizio was suggesting here. Can we leave the current API in place and start to engineer like an alternate API that someone could transition into? I think if we can start to do the work of identifying that, if it hasn't been done already, that might be a way to kind of break forward on this. Okay, yeah, Tilo.
Just one question because it came up as a to-do, but we don't have an owner. Who's gonna put this on the SIG Lifecycle meeting? I think the one we discussed is 9th of December because next week is vacation holiday week in the US. Is that on you or should I do that, Fabrizio? What's the best path forward?
Feel free to do it.
Gotcha. All right. So Alice, that meeting is on the 9th of December at 6 p.m. So 1 hour earlier than this one. Will you be available?
I'm moving in the 5th, so it might be a bit tough. I will let you know.
Okay.
But might be that I'm out because that week is
Good.
probably.
I'm asking because I'm good at coordinating stuff, but like my expertise is more on the lower levels, operating system, plumbing level, and this will be over my head. But yeah, I'll set this up and we'll add a reminder.
We could always put it on. Thanksgiving is a Thursday, right? So Tuesday is not technically a holiday. It's just it will be a lighter week for most people. So, but we can always put it on the Tuesday if the 9th. So the coming Tuesday, if the 9th is bad, then we could do it. I will do my best to join.
Works for me.
Yeah, I'll do my best to join as well because I'd like to try and help out with this if possible. I unfortunately haven't been able to make it to many of the working groups, but I am interested in this topic.
Nice. Okay, I just see that I will not be able to join, but as I said, I don't bring any expertise to that, so I put it on the agenda and rely on you folks.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Tilo.
So it means the 9th or I don't know.
25th next week.
Yeah, I guess we'll just try for next week and see who's there, and if we have quorum, we can discuss it, and if not, we'll push it to another one, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. For me, those 2-3 weeks are a bit tough. But yeah.
So it's the same thing, but then we can put it on the 9th as well, right?
Yeah. I mean, no,
okay,
and no apologies necessary. Life is definitely more important than this stuff, right? All right, Fabrizio, you've got your hand up.
I just want to set expectations. So the meeting is such a SIG cluster lifecycle is not going to talk about copy or the specific problem. It's going to try to tackle this problem in a more holistic way. And going back to the point from Alice, I'm sorry, this is not really a good topic for newcomers. And the problem here is that all-time maintainer don't have bandwidth, and it's not a priority for the company that I work from. So I try to support as part of my community duties, but I don't have bandwidth to come up with a design. So this is why I really hoped that the working group was moving the needle. But we really need folks that look into it. and understand the problem, learn and move the needle. So I understand it's not an easy problem to get started, but this is what it is. It's complex.
Yeah,
And,
you've gotten into the deep end here, LHA. But this, like, I'm also at Red Hat, and this is important to my employer. So, like, LHA, if you want to, please reach out to me on the Red Hat Slack. I'd be happy to coordinate.
Yeah, I think we can think and chat a bit about it.
Okay. Yeah, let's sync up again internally, and I'll do what I can to try and help with the community here. And if that means helping to kind of bridge some of this and make it a little easier for you, like, I'm happy.
Yeah, there is also a colleague of mine that will have more time starting in December, but he is from India, so it will be a bit tough for him to attend this kind of meeting. So yeah, maybe.
Yeah, let's
we can sync
coordinate outside the
internally.
meeting.
Yeah,
I'm happy
let's
to sync up with you though. Let's make
Thank you.
And yeah, thank you as well. All right, cool. Great discussion. Very complicated topic, and I'm sure like whatever comes out of this is going to be pretty fun, for some definition of fun. Let's move on. Fabrizio, runtime extension caching, please.
Okay, so if you're following up, we're implementing two new feature in place and chain and upgrade. Both of them are implementing extensibility point in the form of lifecycle hooks or in place, a new category of hooks that we call it in place upgrade hooks. Okay, while doing this, sort of, we started looking into two sort of problems. One is, but they all boil up to performance and keeping the reconcile time under control. So what is the issue is that our controller reconcile very frequently. We have watches whenever something changes, reconcile is kicked off. Usually it's not only a reconcile because I don't know, if you change a machine, you kick off a reconcile in the machine controller, in the machine set controller, in the machine deployment controller, and in the cluster controller. So it is a storm of events that goes up. Okay. This was never an issue in the past, but it's something that we observed and we consider a bottleneck of a scale. And considering now we are adding a reconcile hook, that usually it is an API call to something else, which add on the reconcile time, we decide, okay, let's try to make things better so we avoid the issue. And so we started doing some experiment and some changes. And one of the changes, so we are implementing caching on the hooks call, so the runtime extension are not called when necessary. This is good and fine. But we are doing also another change that I think is very interesting. So we are introducing this idea of rate limiting for copy reconciler. The simplest way to explain it is that when you reconcile machine, the same machine will reconcile not before 1 second. So we are basically, this is a 1 second rate limiting. And this worked pretty well with Cluster API because Cluster API at the end is managing infrastructure or node provisioning, which are slow process. So we don't really need to reconcile every 20 milliseconds. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't bring advantages. And we are testing these and we used a prototype of these while testing and validating in place and chained in the last 2 weeks, 2 weeks and a half with good results. With good result, what I mean is that no impact on the reconcile time, cluster calculation time, etc., etc. So cluster API behaves as usual, but yeah, the system is working a lot less, and the log are less noisy, etc., etc. And so together with Stefan, we decided to add this to the next copy release as behind a feature gate. So the feature gate will be false by default, but if folks want to start to play around this, I think this is a really good improvement. The idea is to do also a scale test as soon as we can, but yeah, we don't have yet a defined date when we will work on it. Question?
Yeah, Andreas, please.
Will this be configurable
In the first
per
release,
controller, maybe?
so why you would like to make this configurable per controller? I'm just interested in the use case. So
I've just recently had this same idea because we had scaling issues on Kappa on a very large cluster of 300 nodes plus, on which we enabled the machine pool machines feature, and they get reconciled all the time, and the list gets updated, and so on. And then the queue was pretty large. And I found some bugs in Kappa actually where AWS requests were made continuously all the time, which might even cost money, and it slows down reconciliation. So that cannot really happen in Cluster API because it doesn't work with cloud providers directly. But this slowdown can happen, and you just don't need to reconcile 3 times in 10 seconds. So depending on what scale you have in a customer or a company, I think it might make sense to configure it to just the scale that you need. And I guess even 1 per second might be a lot already in some cases.
yeah, we can think about it. So just to give some context. So for now, we are keeping this in a private packaging copy. The plan is to make it a public package. We are also embedding some best practice in this private control. The PR is linked. Take a look. It's a really nice read. For instance, I don't know, we are enforcing a timeout on a reconcile that we don't have on every controller. Or for the secondary watches, we are enforcing that we only, because what in Kubernetes there are sync, and today, if you don't add a specific predicate, you get event also for the syncs. So I'm a machine deployment, machine ever sync. I will get event in my machine deployment controller. And this doesn't make sense. So we have a predicate for this. But you have to remember to add. So what we did is that in this controller wrapper that we implemented in the PR, we are embedding some best practice that we learned over time. And this also something valuable. I don't know about making the reconcile time configurable. Could be. What we are trying to figure it out is that, it is a trade-off between how much you make work your controllers, how frequently you make them work, and how much your system is reactive. So I don't think that this is a decision that goes controller by controller, but yeah, we can figure it out if we want to make it. At the end, it's not a big change. In cluster IP, we did not see this need. But yeah, if we have let's if there is interest, I think this is a nice idea. I really would like to do a scale test to have, backed data, concrete data to look at. But from what we observed in the last month, but by the way, it is not a new idea. We tested this in the last scale test 1 or 2 years ago as well. But then we decided to drop it because it was not necessary. So I get your point. I will take note. For now, it is not implemented. Maybe in future we can add it if we understand that this
makes sense. I would definitely use it in infrastructure providers because there it can reduce cost and whatever slowness.
Yeah, and
but it's super helpful as a public package.
Yeah, and by the way, we are also doing fancy stuff like, I don't know, when we are in a certain part of the controller, we even slow down slower than 1 second. I don't know, when we are waiting for the infra machine, even every 1 second is too frequent. So we go every 5 seconds. So it is, yeah, we're starting having fun. I think this is a really interesting topic. I brought it up.
Yeah, good question. Good discussion there. Any other questions or comments about this topic? Okay. As Fabrizio said, please check out the PR and leave comments if you've got opinions about this. So Fabrizio, how do you feel about giving us a live demo? I know Niha feels pretty good about it, but
You can deny the offer, Fabrizio. You can just say, I'm not going to do it. I'll do it next week when half of us won't be here, maybe.
Are you still there, Fabrizio? Did we lose you?
Muted.
I think
I
you're.
was talking about Muti. I'm trying to get the environment up in behind, but I was talking. So
Yeah, everybody keeps asking you questions, and you keep
Yeah.
bringing topics up and everything.
Yep. So I don't know if you make me cost, I just share and see if it works.
Yeah, let's
And
do that.
it will be a very simple demo, but probably
Oh,
it should
except
work.
you're not for some reason you're not appearing on my list here, so I can't make you co-host.
Let me see. But maybe I can share because I make you host.
Yeah,
So let
like,
me just find. Okay,
I'll stop sharing.
sharing.
Like when I go to click on the participants list, your name doesn't appear in it.
Okay,
You could
give
make
me
someone
one
else a host, a co-host, and they can. I see Fabrizio, for example, or let's
Okay.
make Lubomir a co-host, and then they can
All
make
right.
Fabrizio
I'm gonna make Justin host because I can see Justin
or co-host. Yeah,
co-host, and then you make Fabrizio co-host.
you got
Where
it.
is turning on? Send
Make
a
me co-host.
request.
Oh wait,
Mike, I think you
I
should give me.
allowed it, so you should be able to.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like this is the most complicated hosting proxy, like in place host updates.
Okay, so
All right, cool.
let me try to make this a little bit bigger, and let's hope that things work out.
I'm seeing terminals.
Okay, so I have a cluster. This cluster has one control plane and 3 workers. So if we take a quick look at the cluster, it should be a quick start. Okay, what is relevant here? So first thing that is relevant is that for this cluster, I have configured max unavailability 1. Okay, what does it mean is that I tolerate a machine being unavailable and a node being considered a node in place is, that is upgrading in place is considered unavailable. It could break. So I'm setting max unavailable -1. This means that I can start in place immediately. If max unavailability was 0, what would happen is that before starting upgrading in place, I have to create a new node, basically to create room for unavailability, like you do when you do a rollout. And then everything else will happen in place. But if it works, we're going to test this later. So what I'm doing now, I'm changing failure domain. Why am I changing failure domain? Because in place is implemented using a runtime extension. And the runtime extension has the knowledge of what you can upgrade in place or not. Okay, in the test runtime extension for copy, in the implementation, we define when failure domain change, you have to treat this change in place instead of going through rollout. Okay, and this is pluggable. So let's see if it works. Okay, it is working. So what happened is that all the machine. Let's use this cool feature of VD. So with VD, I can go back and forth in time. So let me go back a little bit, and so we see the change. Oh, why is not working? Because I'm not in the right terminal. Give me a sec. this key is working. Toggle back time machine do suspend.
It says go to the past at the bottom.
Okay, where it is? Go to the past.
The very
Shift
bottom.
J. And this is what I was pressing. So
Maybe enter on the timestamp.
So let's go to the past. I'm sorry, but it is live demo. Now I have to find where the upgrade is. Let's trigger another one. And we try to record in a clean way. So cluster, again, I change the failure domain. Okay, so what happened at the beginning? And let's see if okay, this is where the upgrade starts. As you see, it turned up to date false, but I don't understand why we are updating in parallel. Or maybe we have something in the test code. I'm sorry, folks. I cannot show you it.
Did we run aground here?
No, we were running so many tests in parallel that I'm not entirely sure where we have where I'm at the stage. What should happen is that immediately up to date turn to false because it recognized that the configuration is changed, and then one after the other they go into updating, and then the update completes. So. I'm sorry for the demo. I really have to set up to check my setup environment first. I think that a few key points maybe is worth to discuss now, and then we will come back to the demo next time. What is really important is that from a user perspective, you do the change. The user should not be worried about how the change happen. So the user should just define the desired state. And then Cluster API and talk with the runtime extension, and together they agree on what is the best way to reach the desired state. And I think this is a really nice way that we found in this proposal, in this work, to find a middle ground between in place, immutable and mutability, and a middle ground that people working in cloud can set the bar in a certain point. People working with bare metal can move the bar to another point, because of course in place comes with risk. While rollout has advantages, but yeah, I promise I will prepare a better demo next week. But this is a really cool demo, like in chain upgrade as well. So
yeah.
All
right,
Justin, sorry, I have to come back next time.
No, it's awesome. Can I just ask, so this lets us basically update machine attributes in place.
Yes.
It doesn't deal yet with the software in the machine, right? That's sort of getting onto the next topic, right? Like that's the node bootstrapping problem, I guess.
Yeah, this is where we found a ground to unblock this discussion. So in the machine, so when it comes to a machine, everyone is opinionated. You have different OS, different way to deploy Kubernetes, different ways. So what we are doing is that basically we are delegating to a runtime extension. This runtime extension can be implemented to understand. I don't know, if you have only plain kubadmin, it could be done in this way. Then there are decisions that depend on the infrastructure. So let me say it was a problem space that it was so huge that it was not possible to solve it. And so what we decide is that we provide an extension point. This is where CAPI arrives. It just talks with a component, and this component should have all the knowledge, take the decision, and cluster API act upon a decision. And for the upgrade process, just keep asking the process, oh, did you upgrade? Did you upgrade? And when a component tells back, I have upgraded, that's done. So this is where we cut the line, and this will allow us to experiment and to solve the problem and maybe find some common ground across different implementation. I hope this answers your question because it's loaded.
Yeah, thank you. I love it. I think it's great. Like the things which we can update in place, let's update in place, and then let's think about what we can update in place and expand that set type thing.
Alrighty. So Andreas, I guess Tila, you've got a question, please.
Yeah, I'm very curious and interested in that. Since from the OS level and the OS Kubernetes level, we've been supporting it for a while. Just there was no way to tell Cluster API about it. Does Cluster API oppose some kind of expose some kind of information or API to the lower level user space so the operating system can act on kind of the requests that are coming from Cluster API and can report success or failure?
So the API that we expose is the machine, the bootstrap config object, and the infrastructure config. So basically, we give to this runtime extension all the source of truth for what is the machine in Cluster API.
Mm-hmm.
So we give all of them, and before when the upgrade decision is taken, we send current and desired. And the runtime extension can compare and tell, oh, I can take care of this change or not. Okay.
Okay. That makes sense.
And then when the upgrade start, we keep sending the desired state, and we just wait for the runtime extension. So yes, there is a how can I say, every runtime extension at the end is an API call. And so we have a well-defined open API spec for each call, which is, by the way, part of the Cluster API artifact and is documented in the proposal. So let me see. I would say we have the first version of these. Open to feedback, basically.
That all sounds very great. Thank you for elaborating.
All right. Any other questions about the in-place upgrades? Okay. Andreas, you've got a question about adding some reviewers to specific areas in specific machine pools.
Yeah, so this comes from the machine pool working group. I think Matt Bursma is also here, right? Richard Case is not here, I think. I think Richard is the only one in the reviewers list of CAPI, while Matt is in the release team. Not sure if that includes LGDM permission. I would guess so. And other than that, we have a lot of interested people in the working group. Few PRs already on documentation, soon also improvements to the API. I have a lot of features already done previously and PRs ready for review. So I was thinking, is it possible that we kind of add for this area specific reviewers so PRs can make progress more easily, at least for the LGTM part, not for the approval part, which is very different. And given that I did work on machine pools myself for quite a while, basically suggesting myself here because I don't have anyone else on the list or in my mind right now, except maybe for Matt or who else is strongly using machine pools.
I think probably all it takes is maybe just open a PR and put yourself in the owners list, and maybe put Matt in there too if he's willing to do it. But yeah, like you guys are working on it. Like if there's lots of stuff going on there, it sounds like a good idea to me. Does anybody else have thoughts or objections or reasons why Andreas shouldn't just open a PR?
That's the question, exactly.
Yeah, I think just open a PR probably. I'm not seeing any objections come up, Andreas. So I'd say open a PR, and that'll probably
There
solve
is Lu, there is Lubomir.
Lubomir's got his hand up.
Oh, Lubomir just raised his hand. Please.
Yeah, I don't have an objection. I think I'm encouraging this area to be more heavily reviewed, and ideally we should follow the Kubernetes onboarding of basically the reviewer approver ladder, which is well defined. But if you are one of the people that have already contributed with PRs, you are well suited to be a reviewer. Generally -1 to add people just for the sake of it, for the area, and then for approvers, as long as you are reviewing consistently, I'm as a KubeADM maintainer, I'm very fastly promoting reviewers to approvers, because as long as you get the work done, you show the existing maintainers that you're doing the work. So you eventually become an approver as well. So +1.
Yeah, I think that all makes sense. Specifically, I will not be consistent in reviewing all CAPI PRs, obviously. Don't have the time or the scope. But that's why I'm suggesting, like, if we can do that, I saw it in the owners aliases file that seems possible to do it for one area. And then I'll just, do best effort as always in every project to review mine and other stuff.
Yeah, I'm also very actively removing reviewers because people change companies, change country, change any status of their life basically, and I think it's healthy to keep the owner files up to date at any point.
All right, before we move on here, I'll just note we're at time, but we'll keep going with the final few topics here. If anyone has to leave, please feel free. Go ahead.
A very quick comment from me. So first of all, it's not required to be a reviewer to apply LGTM. Everyone can apply it. Then I think what we do is we stick to the Kubernetes policy. So I really take a look. I think that what changed recently is that they are stressing even more than before the fact that being a reviewer or maintainer implies continuous commitment. And of course, everyone with the bandwidth that they have. I'm not making an objection for Andreas, but yeah, if you want to look at what are the rules of the game, they're very well explained. And as soon as you feel that you made the bar.
Yeah,
happy to have what changes for reviewers is that they get assigned to PR, but everyone can do a review. That's the only difference. So you will get a bunch more of notification.
Yeah, I think, historically people get a notification say they don't review, which is formally they are a reviewer in the owner file, but if they're not involved, that's the core of the problem, right? They have to, if you are getting ping for review and you're not contributing, I argue that you should be removed. And it doesn't matter what status you have in the community, to be honest. I think that's my point.
Okay, and Igor, you've got a question here about the time to review independent worker topology proposal.
Yeah, just wondering when, because it seems like we got in-place upgrades, or at least they're being released now, and chained upgrades. So that seemed to be the blocker.
We will get there. We discussed it. It is my to-do list to take a look, but release is not yet done.
Sure.
And after release, we have to prepare for the next branch. So please be patient. If you notice that the pipeline of PR went down from 50 to 35. So we are actively working on the backlog, but proposal takes a good chunk of time to work into.
Sure. Thank you.
Sorry, folks. I really have to go. Thank you for the great discussion.
Cool. Later, Fabrizio. Yeah, the last thing here was just the update from the node bootstrapping working group. Tilo, are you still here? Did you want to give a quick update here?
Yeah, we practically had the update in this very meeting earlier. So yeah, we like apparently everyone in this loop, we lost a main contributor to the project, and we just won one or potentially two new ones. You've met Alicia today, and they continue to drive that now with refreshed contributions, and that's nice. And that's about it.
Cool. Yeah, great to hear. Hopefully, yeah, we'll get a little more lifeblood in there, and we'll get the working group back on track. Okay, that's our meeting for today. We're a little bit over, so I'm not going to extend it with any extra questions. See you all next week, and if you have anything to say, please join us in the Cluster API Slack channel and the Kubernetes Slack. Later, everybody.